Pleasure to be back on the stage again, and especially moderating this particular panel, because this goes back to our conversation earlier, the similarities that we see in this particular part of the world, especially walking down the street, and then what we see in UAE. And then the fellow panelists on here, a lot of familiar faces are actually coming from the GCC. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to create a real picture which is going to come from their lens, telling you actually in reality what is happening. And I think the chairman in the mornings couldn't have said it perfectly, where you create an opportunity from a chaos or from a global uncertainty. That is exactly what we are going to try to achieve in this one. So without any further ado, I wanted to first of all welcome the great wealth that we have over here, and especially Hadi being on the panel, because I wanted to understand quite a lot from the perspective of GCC, especially from Bahrain, and the whole region is engulfed in this one. So starting with yourself, sir, please, how do you see the current situation briefly from your particular view, what is happening in the GCC? And that is the same question I'm going to ask every single panelist. So for you guys to understand, what do these guys see, the current situation that is unfolding in the GCC and in the whole of the MENA? So over to you.
Thank you. Great to be here. Well, first and foremost, I was fortunate to have both sides of the situation in my person. My family is from today's Lebanon and Syria and Jordan.
But I hope they're safe and well.
Sorry?
I hope they're safe and well in Lebanon.
Oh, yeah. And I was born and raised in Brazil from an European mother. So I have both East and West. So I can have a very privileged vision from both perspectives, let's say. And I'm not very optimistic. I believe that this war with Iran has created a fourth power, which is Iran now. By provoking Iran, unfortunately, is going to be a quagmire. There's no way of this war to be won without terrible, terrible consequences for the whole world. And unfortunately, we still didn't feel the effects of this war. We're going to start to feel them in the next weeks. And if you ask me what's the solution for that, is that old saying, let's work out our differences, because that's the only way. We have to realize, especially us from the Middle East and India, from the West, from the East, we have to realize that every time the West try to interfere in that region, we know the results. We're not very good results, unfortunately. So I believe that the first step is to work out our differences, Muslims, Christians, Jews, Druze. We have to realize that this is not kumbaya. This is not trying to be, we have to all give our hands and be together. It's a reality, and it's a fact that war is not good for business. So if you are all here trying to find success in business, war is only good for a couple of sectors. Military sector, maybe construction sector, but all the other sectors don't benefit from war. So conflict is not good for business. So we have to realize that. We have to work out our differences, especially realize that while people in the West, and I'm a Westerner, I live in this country, I love this country, I think it's one of the best countries in the world to live with all its problems. And I cheer, even though I might have some, let's say, reservations on some of the president's policies, I wish him well. I wish this country to succeed, because it's the country I choose to live. However, we have to understand that the Middle East and India and the East, in a way, is only going to be successful if we work out our differences, because people are laughing at us because we cannot get along. And that's not okay.
Thank you.
Well, I am maybe the opposite. I am more optimistic in life. And the war is really between politics and economies. So in our region, we have something like a 10-year cycles. The politician create problems, and then we go into peace, and then we have another problem. So it is all up to how we think. Like now, you are looking at me, and I'm looking at you. I can see what is behind you. You don't see what is behind you. In the same way, you see what is behind me. So in life, if we have a two-way communication, we can sort a lot of problem. But the politician always try to create miscommunication, and that's what we have a problem. So it is all upon us, we as a human being. What is war? It's created by politicians. Okay? So for us, thank you. For us, we have to think more into the right way, you know? And the right way is to communicate with each other. Find, as he said, our differences. Create positive things than negative, okay? And we have a saying in the Quran that God sometimes creates something to examine his people. But it's in the end, it turns up to the good, because he's the one who decides. So if there is a war like there must be something God knows about it, we don't know. We should create something better for every human being. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I would say, I think for us, it's an outside looking in perspective. So, you know, being born in India, raised in the UK, we were almost sort of on both sides, where Middle East sort of came in the middle, and now we were restructuring our family office out of Abu Dhabi, you know, and in the middle of the war started to happen. So I would say we are optimistic with pinch of realism or realisticness in the middle, right? You can't obviously overlook what is happening and what has been happening over the last century. The conflict has been, you know, like Hadi said, there's been a 10-year cycle. So if you are going in there with that long-term belief, you need to go in there with the expectations that this might occur again and at a worse level. So how do you protect yourselves against that? But there's, you know, no doubt in, you know, sort of showing and talking about the development that, you know, the whole region, right? UAE, Qatar, Saudi, Bahrain made over the last 20, 25 years, right? There was a time where, you know, it was just kilometers and kilometers of sand. And to see the metropolis that they've built, I mean, not only is it a massive credit to the amazing leadership, but also the ability to attract engineers, the ability to attract capital, and the ability to attract tech. Now, obviously, that's taken a bit of a hit, and every investor here has to think from that logical mindset. But I do, and I have also seen that the Middle East operates on a relationship basis. So the more loyalty you show to them now in a time of pain, the more loyalty and the more they will give to you back when the time becomes right and it's their time to reward you.
Thank you.
For me, I'll start that I actually did not grow up in the GCC, and it's more of a recent venture into the GCC, but I'm no foreign to the Middle East.
How recent?
I actually was born in Jerusalem, then 2/3 of my life raised in the US. I decided not to be in the manufacturing family business and decided to go into semiconductor and high tech. But we actually started investing in Dubai because we wanted to diversify, you know, and we've seen an incredible growth that it's seen. And this war kind of hits us hard because it's hitting Dubai, Israel is involved, and the US is involved.
Yeah.
So it's almost like it's hitting us at all levels. But nevertheless, we're still optimistic. We continue to stay optimistic because we think the strong fundamentals are there. You know, yes, there might be a bit of turbulence right now. You can think about it as a storm that's going to go through. But at the end of the day, we're really are very optimistic because Dubai and you know, is a very central part of the GCC itself, but has been instrumental in terms of doing miracle projects. You know, I watch as an engineer. I used to always watch miracle constructions, and you'll be impressed when you find out so many of these projects are done in Dubai. Yeah. What they can do in like a month or two, it would take years otherwise. So we've been in Dubai, I would say, mainly as a diversification outside the Middle East. more towards the GCC and outside the US as well. But we go quite often. We continue to invest, and if anything, right now we're actually ramping up more capital to actually do more stuff in Dubai, in UAE, right now.
Thank you.
Yes, I will answer this question from the professional and personal point of view and prospection. I'm an international private banker. I'm a partner in the family office Switzerland, and we are working with the wealthy clients in Switzerland, Luxembourg, Dubai. So I want to underline, after 25 years of my career as a private banker, that Dubai become a really significant independent hub for investments and for for stability, the symbol of stability, which and very innovative hub, which is moving very fast. And of course, from the perspective of tax and let's say financial perspective, it's a very interesting place and very attractive until now. And I personally love UAE, Middle East, and I think that right now we have to just maybe be cautious and stay there, but also diversify the risks. That's what we are doing as asset managers. We are trying to keep the wealth of our clients in different baskets. I think it's a time right now in the world where we have to keep an eye to keep assets in different baskets and diversify, because we don't know what happened. But generally, like, I admire, believe in Dubai, and I think that after some time the conflict will be over. Of course, how long it will take, we don't know. And I think that we have to have been connected with Dubai, plan A, plan B. But generally, it's amazing hub, and it pretends to be like a very special hub for all innovations, AI, and different clients. From the personal perspective, being Ukrainian by my birth, I want to say that regarding the war, that I would never expect, living in Europe many years all my life, I would never expect the war in the middle of Europe almost. And I would never expect that it would last 5 years. And nobody who was inside the country, investors, companies, would not expect that too. So we have to be prepared that we are optimistic, but we always have to assume the risks of some risk and have a plan B. So as a person, personally, I find this is horrible. And if the ladies were presidents, I would cancel the wars.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I think your mic is not working. One of the mics.
Hello?
Yeah.
So I've been living in Dubai for 10 years now. I'm American Syrian. Speak fluent Arabic, embrace the culture. After selling my business, I decided starting a chapter of my life. Ended up in Dubai. First thing, I missed my round trip ticket. I just ended up starting a new chapter there since 2017 actually. I just flew in from Dubai 6 days ago. I was in the middle of the conflict when everything was happening. I mean, 2 words, optimism and resilience. The government there is really, I never felt unsafe, even when the missile threat alerts were going off in the middle of the nights. Everybody there is optimistic. It's business as usual. I'd say they're doing 5-star performance and containing of the situation. You know, I would say it's the most dramatic situation that can happen in any country's war. So, you know, hopefully everything will be obviously worked out, but opportunity-wise, I mean, the opportunities there, I think I've gotten more bandwidth and opportunities while I was there than before the war. And you know, it's incredible that the loyalty, again, if you're there and you speak with the Emiratis and the locals and the different communities when it comes to investments, the investment community, family offices, you know, the pro-government bandwidth of activation right now is accelerating. So I think we're at the right place at the right time. Unfortunate for the conflict, but I believe they'll emerge much stronger.
Sure, thank you. Now, President has taunted, and it's one of his nature that he likes to keep the public on the edge with his comments and with his tweets. But he has said that this particular war could actually mimic what happened with Russia and Ukraine up to 5 years. And we really hope to God it doesn't really happen, because that will create a real chaos in the whole of the world because of the energy as being the fundamental source and the bloodline for everything else. I wanted to move on to Garius, because you did mention that the situation is still in its early days of that one. And if we marry that concept with what President Trump has said of a 5 years timeline, but as of today, negotiations are very much back on the table, but they do change 3 or 4 times his narrative, his stance. If that situation does come into play, something similar which mimics what Russia and Ukraine is happening, what mistakes foreign investors might be making? I wanted to ask this question to you, and of course the same question to Hadi, because I wanted to devolve from your experience. So over to you first, please.
I've been working with the UN since 2016 in special consultative status. And the first problem we have is that in the recent years, actually it was Putin that started that movement, we no longer have international law. And that's the only thing, because we can all have different positions here, but the thing that makes us being able to live in a community is the fact that at least we expect that if any of us here shoot someone, we're going to go to jail and going to be judged by the same rules. However, some events, I don't want to go into them, but starting with the war in Ukraine, violated international law to a point of completely disregard, and some things that happened also in the Middle East. So what's going to happen coming if this war continues is, best case scenario, what happened before? What happened when United States and the Allies interfered in Iraq? Oh, they removed Saddam Hussein. I was not crazy about Saddam Hussein, but what came after was worse. So they are not thinking about that. What comes after Iran might be worse than what it is now. I'm not crazy about the Ayatollahs, but I believe it's up to the Iranians to change their own regime. So they don't think that that might be worse. And the problem, which is the sensitive area, is the Strait of Hormuz. And Hormuz can be held by a group of rebels. It doesn't have to be a country. You just need a couple of guys with RPGs to threat the vessels. And we're talking about not just the oil, but people are not thinking about the fertilizers. People are not thinking about the helium that is not just for the balloons, but also for the medical equipment. So all of that, we're going to start to feel the effects. Even if the war stops today, we're going to start feeling it in a couple of weeks. And if international law is not respected, is the law of the jungle.
Yeah.
And that's not good for business. So that's what I think. I hope I shared your optimism.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to add, I so much agree with you, because I was talking with the owner of some Iraqi bank in Dubai some years ago, and he said to me, Maria, you cannot imagine, you wait that the war between Ukraine and Russia stops and you're going to be fine in Ukraine. He said, we were not investing as a big investors group from Iraq 10 years in our infrastructure, financial system, because all was destroyed, but the mentality was destroyed.
Yeah.
And this is the most important. That's why we hope that it will finish soon in Middle East.
And I think from the perspective of what I'm about to say, it may be biased, so take it with a pinch of salt, because I'm a resident of the United Arab Emirates. But yeah, you could say that, and you're entitled to your opinion. But the stuff with the United Arab Emirates is they are more proactive than being reactive. And then that is the reality. This comes on the wealth of 20 years of trading experience as a hedge fund trader for Bank of New York Mellon and with Bank of America. I am sitting on more cash now, today, than in my entire life, because I'm not buying this equity market, which is hitting record high. But I'm going to go back to the topic. And the topic is that the country is more proactive because it is taking the steps in terms of punching the liquidity lines, punching the solutions and the more friendly environment for the businesses before actually things will happen. We have seen that liquidity lines being established, foreign relations, special foreign relationships are being established, such as you just mentioned with Israel. Now, Hadi, I'm going to ask you, and I wanted us to be very specific because this is very important. We are in Miami. We are in front of family offices which are based over here. The UAE and the GCC has been the pearl of investment for the last 10 years, attracting every single investor, businesses, innovator in that area. This conflict has shaken the foundation. It has shaken the momentum, more importantly than anything else. Where do you see this one? Do you see, how could you make these investors more comfortable about the landscapes? You are from the country, you are from the region. What is your message as a self-made billionaire from the area?
Well, my real message is, again, I will say, the politician, they believe in divide and rules. The economist is the opposite, unite and rules. So, and normally capitalist investors, they are always worried about their investment, about their capital. So they are coward. But there is something called high risk, high profit, as long as you do it a calculative risk. You know where you're going. So in the Gulf, we need a lot of know-how. We are all share one common thing, which is oil and gas. But we need to import know-how, transfer technology. So no matter what a war is it has to have something after it, you know? And we all see this war is created by politicians for a reason. And the reason now, let's say, a lot of destruction happen in weapons, a lot of destruction happen in the oil and gas and the electricity. We need people now to come and build it. So that's what the politician does. They create this, so later on they come and take all these contracts to rebuild. And that's how the cycle goes on, you know? And during this war, the politician tried to involve the Gulf country. They created, because Iran started hitting all the American base, anything to deal with America, even if it is financial. But our rulers in the Gulf, they were very wise. They did not indulge themselves into the war. Because if they have gone and shifted to fight Iran, okay, the other party will be more relaxed to re-establish themselves. But our government in the region, they knew we're going to have a lot of repercussion, we're going to have a lot of problem to rebuild this. But that's, as I said, is a cycle. And here we have to take the people with intelligence to think wisely, okay? Not in talking about problem, talking about solution, and how do we prevent another cycle of problem in our region.
You know, sorry, you wanted to?
Yeah, I just want to agree with you about the rulers in the Gulf. And that's the difference between monarchy and republic that some people don't understand. Because the king, the sheikh, the prince is always thinking about the next generation, while the politicians are thinking about the next election.
Yeah.
So that makes everything to have a 4-year span. So God forbid they invest in something that his adversary is going to benefit from. So that's the problem. We have to stop this cycle the way it is. We have to start thinking long term, because it's the only way that we're gonna not just have great businesses, because, you know, right now just a few people are profiting, but, you know, we can all profit. Why not everyone profiting, right?
Yeah.
So I believe that's the...
I just want to add something. You know, when you have a country which is ruled by election and parliaments and all that, every 4 years, or some of them maybe 5 years, what they're looking is how they come back into the seats. In our region, we don't have that. We have monarchy for years to go, from father to son, and that's called stability, sustainability. And as he said, we look at the next generation, what we have to create for them, what we have to do for them. Where in countries where they have election, they are interested of how much he can sit in the seat. And maybe he goes, maybe the rule is 8 years. He would like his party to come back again. And that's the fight. So you don't have that continuity of stability because everybody comes, he thinks different, and he look after his own surrounding, his own party only. He doesn't look there.
There's a very interesting story that an ambassador from the Kingdom of France of Louis XIV, that he was the absolutist king, he was asking for a favor to an Arab sultan, I don't remember which one now. And then it was taking time and time and time. And then the French king sent a letter to the ambassador saying, why is it taking so long? Isn't the guy there the king? And then the ambassador replied, he said, well, although he decides by himself, he consults with every single class. It's not because he's the king that he decides whatever comes to his mind. He first consults with the military, he consults with the elders, he consults with the guild leaders, the community leaders. So everyone concerned to make a decision. Why? Because he knows that whatever decision he makes can impact him and his family. So
that's the real democracy.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to move on to, yes, to you, please.
Let me give you an engineer's perspective because I don't really do much in politics. But as an engineer, I'm a data-driven guy. In 2025, 9,800 millionaires moved into UAE.
Yeah.
They brought $63 billion. So maybe, yeah, this year, 2026, you're not going to have the same kind of rate. But that's just going to tell you that Dubai is resilient. Yes, there's a turmoil. It'll be over. And the capital is just going to continue to flow because people are not running out. What I've seen actually in Dubai, every time I go, I'm more impressed than the time before. My first time in Dubai was in 2010. Yeah. And I felt like we'd missed the cycle. And that's why in 2021, we're like, hey, we need to really ride this cycle again. And now more than ever, we're still very optimistic. I mean, Dubai is not just what you see in terms of bigger buildings, whatever, the infrastructure. You talk about the amount of spend that the government is doing. They're doing it not just to be in the seat for the next 5 years. They're doing it forever, for the next generation. And so we have a lot of respect for what the government is trying to do by not escalating things in the war and really thinking about the betterment of their country and the betterment of their citizens.
Yes. As a moderator, I'm going to give you the both sides of the stories. So during the war, a friend of mine came from Washington. He works with the firearm companies. And he said to me that, which was very much in every single headline, that of course the US has doubled and tripled its capacity of its air missiles and everything else. I said, yes, I read the news and I'm very much aware of it. But he said, but you may not be aware of the fact the lifetime of these particular missiles or the shelf lifetime for these missiles to be there because there's an expiry date for these ones to be used. And then if they are not used, they're just going to be left alone. And then do you think that these companies will be left alone? So that, as a moderator, it is my job for you to give you the other side of the perspective. Now, let me give you the other side of the perspective. The other side of the perspective is, before President Trump took the office, what was happening? We were moving away from fossil fuel to renewable energy. Now we are back to where? Fossil fuel. Now, the most recent announcement of the UAE leaving OPEC is a very, very interesting thing that has happened. Because what they want to use, they want to utilize at the full capacity that they can to dig all the oil out without any restriction, use that money to build the future. That is what these gentlemen are talking about, being proactive and having a strong leadership. Now, with that stance, I'm going to move the conversation to Anmol. Now, given the perspective of opportunities, if ADNOC, which is the main company, because the whole pipeline is going to run from where? From Fujairah all the way to Oman, bypassing all of the Strait of Hormuz drama. The oil will be pumped out of Abu Dhabi, the UAE, ADNOC company behind it. The opportunities, foreign investors, opportunities, short time, lifetime for this oil to dig out and be used before renewable energy kicks in. I want you to please explain from the perspective of opportunity to the investors.
I think if you can get into the right space, one of the biggest opportunities right now is infrastructure funding, especially on the leasing side. So there's two One we are reviewing right now, which, so, when it comes to oil, you have upstream and downstream, right, in layman's term. But I've always sort of believed, and this has gone back a long, long time in philosophies of the family we are part of and the families, we've advised. In a gold rush, you never make money, buying and selling the gold. You always do from, picks and shovels, selling the picks and shovels. So the same mentality here. There is a massive focus in the Gulf region right now to rebuild itself, to be a bit more autocratic than it was, right? You mentioned about the oil pipeline being structured. UAE just decided to come out of OPEC, which has been a massive decision as well, right? So on that autocratic side, how can you give the region its tools which can allow it to become more autocratic, which can allow it to build out the infrastructure? For a lot of the institutional operators here who are, have the ability to write the 50 million plus checks, well, infrastructure funding, especially debt structuring, is going to be a very, very good a certain coupon and outlet, because that's going to be backed on a lot of government-funded projects, which ADIA is doing. ADIA just launched a $2 billion fund of funds, so you can co-invest with ADIA if you have that bigger appetite. For the smaller appetite, I think one of the things is defense funding, where you can look into that. Cybersecurity is a big one that you can look into that. And then these companies which are funding oil upstream and downstream and building out the pipelines, looking at how you can add value there. That could be from a tech perspective, that could be from a data and insight perspective, right? In the Middle East right now, we don't have any companies which are doing what the likes of Anduril are doing, which are providing immense data, right? Data, if we take the war data aside, it also focuses massively on financial data, on human data, on intelligence, right? So how can you make these companies smarter, better, stronger? So I would say these three things in the short term I would focus on.
Sure. Oh, to you.
Sure. I'll give you our perspective from Bluestone, because we're really always looking at three different areas. Real estate, what we saw in Dubai in January is there's only one senior care facility. There's a lot of aging parents in Dubai right now, and there's not enough, properties or real estate to really service that. Significant opportunity there. Another one, health and wellness, definitely, hospitals. There's a lot of research hospitals actually coming in and starting to build infrastructure in Dubai. So from a real estate, we still think it's going to be extremely solid. Another one, Web3. They are so forward when it comes to crypto and Web3 and adoption and tokenization. We're super impressed with what we've seen in Dubai. And as a tech guy, this is something really passionate about. And I would say lastly is we invest a lot in startups. Being in Silicon Valley, we constantly invest in startups. We're quite impressed actually with the startup founders in Dubai that we actually met. Very, very forward thinking and always looking for different ways how to solve the problem. So these are the three areas we're looking at actually in Dubai.
Sure. Maria and Nick.
Yes, I would like to also add, agree with colleagues and say that from financial perspective, Dubai still remains an international financial hub. It's very beneficial for the tax perspective, and it really collects still investors from the entire world. And it has, we cannot fly so frequently now, but it has amazing logistic. It's just like in the middle of the world, and every nationality can reach out quite fast from Asia, from US to Asia, this hub. So I think that this important role and innovative role of Dubai and UAE will remain no matter what.
Thank you.
What I've seen is there's a window of opportunity now. What I've seen on the ground is food securities, very, very big.
Yes.
We're currently working with the...
They've created a special fund just to be a sustainable now and everything homegrown. Absolutely.
Another one I've seen is defense. Big, big sector right now as well. So internally they're restructuring some initiatives on the defense side. Another one, real estate. We just launched the first restructure of its kind in the region. So we're allocating into exchanging of shares into distressed properties into the restructure. So, we're coming in with different kind of structures that would be able to be advantageous. Then we can take it to the open market and exchange those shares. Another one is infrastructure. A lot of infrastructure, logistics is what I've seen, and mostly in the Northern Emirates. So I've been meeting with the Northern Emirate, Ras Al Khaimah, quite frequently, and that's I would say a very large emerging opportunity zone. You know, the Wind Casino is due to be launched in the second quarter of next year.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, but there's a lot of infrastructure, labor, housing, manufacturing, just so many different sectors that need to be, airport, you know, there's a big initiative going on with the airport as well. So, yeah, it's a window of opportunity. The savvy investor knows that, just like the cycle. The savvy investors go there, they're definitely going to find those opportunities. And I would say there's a reset in the market in a way where there's less noise. You know, less noise equals more opportunities, right? So.
I think, yes, there is noise, no doubt, because if you look at the rifts within the GCC, within the areas, for example, now there is so much noise on the media that the relationship has soured between the United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia would have a lot more responsibility, not to mention the future of OPEC as an organization, as a cartel, to stabilize the oil prices for the rest of the decade or so, or even a less period of that one, and how that would underpin everything in relation to that one. So I'm going to come back to you, Garius, in relation to it. Now, given the fact that we do understand how much risk is there, how much of a capital allocation would you do within the GCC, given the fact that we still have a Vision 2030 in Saudi Arabia, which could be under jeopardy because of oil prices? If they fall below $80, is a huge problem for Saudi Arabia because of the budget deficits that it suffers. It's not the same problem for the United Arab Emirates because it is well diversified in terms of that one. I want to understand from the because we got less than about 3 minutes or so, in terms of a diversification within the GCC, as a foreign investor going in there, how would you do it? Where do you see the most amount of a capital deployed?
You mean right now?
Yes.
Right now, I would wait a little bit to see how it goes. I wouldn't invest immediately because...
I don't necessarily... But look, the biggest money is... You make the biggest money in the middle of the chaos. The biggest example from the perspective of the United Arab Emirates comes from the COVID crisis. The people who have bought properties on the Palm, around the Palm, anywhere in Dubai, they've gone up, not in percentages, in excess. The opportunity is when the blood is on the street. That is the famous saying that I lived by.
Okay, I'm kind of against that because I think that everything that you get from a bad energy, I have an experience from my grandfather that he benefited from someone suffering and all this money is gone that he made from that kind of activity. So
we're not talking about someone's suffering, just purely from the investment perspective. If now Abu Dhabi is going to push towards that drilling oil out of it, that money, that oil will be sold, whether that is going to be backed by the dollar credit lines, or whether that would be a Chinese yuan, or whether that could be an Indian rupee, whatever that currency it is going to be. The US dollar reserves, as of today, stands at its lowest point in decades. There's an opportunity.
In green energy that I would invest in.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
Yeah, because the UAE oil is peaked already.
100%, yeah.
Yeah, so Iran's oil has peaked, UAE oil has peaked. So
Venezuela.
That's why the UAE was investing in tourism, and that's the reason why Saudi Arabia is, because they realize that they cannot profit just from oil forever. So, and I believe they are building huge solar panels in the desert, Saudi Arabia. So I believe that's a safe bet. If you want a safe bet. I don't want, because I don't want to be sued afterwards. You said, oh, he said that I should invest this and I lost all my money. So I'm not going to say. So green energy.
So Hadi, from your perspective, Kuwait and Bahrain, obviously under a lot of trouble because of the Strait of Hormuz being closed, but now there is an opportunity with this ADNOC, i.e. Abu Dhabi drilling oil, and Kuwait and Bahrain sits right next to the GCC, within that GCC area. How would you allocate your capital? I know you're going to say Bahrain the most because that is where you are from, but anything else?
Well, in the Gulf, we work together with something called GCC, Gulf Cooperative Council, which is the sixth country in the Gulf. And the government work with each other very closely. So now I think Abu Dhabi has come out from OPEC and OPEC. So they can produce more and sell. And Saudi will be the next, and the Gulf will be all of them. So this OPEC and OPEC will go out. So people will sell the oil at the price by demand and supply. You know, it's not going to be controlled. And the other thing which is important, all our country in the Gulf, they look at 5 important sectors for investment. Okay, real estate, healthcare, oil and gas, technology across the board, and education. And we have, as I said earlier, common commodity there, which is the oil and gas. Now, all the GCC thinking of downstreaming than just selling the crude oil. It goes out and come back to us at a very high price. So there is a lot of opportunity. And as I said, if there is something wrong on one side, there has to be something good in the other side. And we have a saying in Arabic, problem of others is benefits for others, you know? So I am very optimistic. The United Gulf GCC together will turn everything which was bad to a positive thing.
To an opportunity, yes. Now, just on the finishing note, I wanted to ask this last question to all the panelists, and I want you guys to answer it fairly quickly because we have run out of time. One word to describe the next 5 years for the region, starting with you.
Doubt.
Hadi.
Two-way communication.
Anwar.
Possibilities.
Opportunities.
Transformation.
Transformation.
Thank you. Ladies and gents, this is the topic which we cover in our research very closely in an actionable, tradable way. So do subscribe to our research, but please, I wanted to say it's been a pleasing, plump pleasure to have you on such a hot geopolitical topic, which is very dear to my heart. Please put your hands together.